I used to think Alpharad was a good dude, and they started collabing with Wolf Glick and showed to be a bad actor that doesn't care about cheating in competitive games. And it was no secret Wolfie was a cheater when Alpharad started working with him. All you have to do is go back to the World Championships 2012 and you see full, shiny, legendary teams with perfect IVs and hidden power. Alright, so that's cheating. He's also friends with people like Ray Rizzo, who got caught with the Dream Ball Aegislash, Impossible Kurt Ball Politoed, and then there's chat logs of him talking about how, like, ginning Pokemon is cool. And then there's the Dream Ball Raichu, also his 1 in 25 million event Raichu that he used to win Worlds, that he somehow had 2 of, and obtained it within a month of Worlds with no documentation whatsoever. Wolfie uses hacked Pokemon. And since they started working together, we have even more proof of Wolfie being a cheater. Ironically, the Moltres that Wolf got caught with for hacking was from someone named Normie Girl, so a fan of both of them hacked a Moltres for Wolf to use in a competitive Pokemon VGC setting. The Pokemon Players Cups were replacements for internationals during COVID, and then for the 25th anniversary invitational, Wolf brought 2 more hacked Pokemon with the Groudon and Incineroar, on top of just like other suspicious Pokemon and teams that he's used throughout his career. So there's no ignorance around Wolfie being a cheater and becoming friends with a cheater, and then this video from Alpharad, the Pokemon controversy, really seals that Alpharad defends cheating because he's just as bad as everyone else.
Yeah, and then Worlds happened for Pokemon. Oh, you and me, you want to talk about the controversy?
Oh, yeah, we should.
Yeah.
It's so lame, so incredibly lame.
So now you can see the people Alpharad associates with. They call cheaters getting disqualified from the largest Pokemon event lame. There shouldn't be a controversy that players got disqualified. The controversy should be all the cheating at Pokemon, but no one else talks about cheating being wrong. But since every creator in the Pokemon community, including Alpharad, is a bad actor, they don't care about cheating.
For Pokemon, they don't normally hack check Pokemon, but Worlds was in Japan this time.
Lie, they do hack check. There's always been a hack check. The problem is the hack check has been reverse engineered by the hackers to where it's very difficult to get caught if you hack your Pokemon very properly. They updated the hack check. So that means all of these complacent cheaters got dinged. And it's weird how they're making fun like Worlds was in Japan. Yeah, that's why it happened, because cheating is wrong, the devs are against it, and it's also illegal to hack your games in the country where Pokemon is based in.
So
I think it's so unbelievably lame that they were eliminating people that were already winning games.
Dude.
That's all they could say. Cheaters getting disqualified is lame. And there were so many cheaters, it was actually impossible to hack check all of them in a timely manner. If you are winning games, that means you especially need to be disqualified, and it doesn't matter how late it happens. That when there's less and less players in the field, it becomes easier to do the advanced hack check on all of them.
There's someone, okay, I felt super bad for this guy. I don't remember his name. Wolfie told me about him. He was 5-0 and makes a big deal about how he gets all of his Pokemon legitimate. The Cresselia on his team, he has been trading up since Generation 5, and he found out at this tournament that someone 10 years ago traded him a hack Cresselia and he didn't know.
That's just wrong. Like, you can't call that a legit player, because a legit player would be suspicious of a Generation 5 Cresselia, because that means when he got the Cresselia 10 years ago, he did not care about that Cresselia's legitimacy. And now that we have judge tools, you can go look at that and be like, a best Cresselia from Generation 5, or like suspicious trainer data from Generation 5. I probably shouldn't use this because it was hacked in a time where every Pokemon was hacked as well. Also, if this person has been playing for the last decade, it removes the inaccessibility argument, because people are like, oh, you shouldn't have to buy Pokemon Sword and Shield with the DLC, but then that means this player has had many attempts to get a Cresselia legitimately and didn't. It becomes very hard to take their claim of legitimacy when they don't care about the rules. They have no respect for the rules, which is why they ended up getting caught. So I don't feel bad that someone got disqualified for having a hacked Pokemon. It's in the rules, regardless if traded for.
How do you even test to see if a Pokemon was hacked? Asked Bobby. With hacks. Which
That why are they laughing about this? People are saying like, oh, they should give, or Game Freak needs to give players a way to test their Pokemon. That all that means is that cheaters will just keep hacking their Pokemon until it passes the hack check, and then cheating is impossible to detect and only gets worse from there. It's pure stupidity. And then with this, like, how do you check if Pokemon's hacked? With hacks, or you don't deal with hacked Pokemon.
which is the most fucked solution. If you ask someone how to check if a Pokemon's legitimate, it's PK Hex. It feels like if that's the solution, this shouldn't be the problem.
I don't even get what that means.
You know?
Yeah, I think it's the thing too, where it's like it wasn't consistently done throughout the year. Why do it at Worlds?
Why do it at Worlds? The largest event! Why not enforce cheating at the largest event in Japan? Yeah, especially when you have all these things like the 2022 World Champion getting caught cheating. You also have all these other hack checks from Kurt. Turns out pretty much everyone topping events and winning regionals is cheating their Pokemon. That means, hey, we need to do something and make sure our hack check catches these cheaters, and it did.
Why start enforcing it at the most important tournament? Well, a tournament that people have invested heavily to
Also
go out for.
paid thousands of dollars
Yeah,
to get out
exactly.
here.
They answer their own question. Why are you enforcing the rules at the largest tournament? Also trying to, like, feign sympathy with the bad actor face cam. Oh man, I feel so bad. These cheaters lost thousands of dollars. How do we feel bad for cheaters? They're the ones there to steal thousands of dollars from legitimate players at all the events they attend.
It's like that is a huge investment to even go in the first place. And like, honestly, if I were a competitor, I would not even feel good winning an event where
If I'm the Cresselia guy, I'm like giving up.
None
Yeah,
of
he
the
quit
skill comes
competitive
from-
apparently. Oh, the Cresselia guy did quit, which is so valid.
Good. Cheaters deserve to get disqualified into oblivion, lose thousands of dollars, and then quit. We lost a cheater. Who's feeling bad about that? No one. The biggest problem is the Pokemon Company is corrupt and they're not doing the proper disqualifications even after we've seen so much cheating and confirmed other cheaters winning many other events.
I stand with them. That's fucked.
Standing with cheaters, let's go.
Here's my thing. Enamorus is a Trick Room sweeper, and you want it to have 0 speed IV and 0 attack IV. And to check for that, you have to play Legends Arceus. There's no way to check it in Legends Arceus, so you have to trade it to Pokemon Home. And then let's say you have a shitty Cresselia or a shitty Enamorus. Uh-oh, play Legends Arceus again.
Beat the game again.
Okay, if you want a powerful Pokemon, you have to put in the work. Also incredibly dishonest because Enamorus ended up not even being a relevant competitive Pokemon for VGC.
It's not only does it take a lot of time, it's also very expensive if you want to start incorporating Pokemon like Landorus and Enamorus.
Right.
Groudon.
And then just going with these lies I've debunked. If you're participating in Pokemon, you're playing Pokemon. Almost all the players participating in Pokemon events have been playing Pokemon for many years and generations. You can't even say, oh, the guy that got second place is new to VGC because he's been playing Pokemon singles for a long time. So if you're inside Pokemon, that means you already had Pokemon Sword and Shield, which was a great game. And if you get the DLC, it's not like you're forced to pay $90 for a trash game. The DLC completes Pokemon Sword and Shield. And then that gives you the accessibility to the legendary Pokemon. But you don't even need that. All you have to do is play an Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and then you could skip multiple generations, and then you have usable legendary Pokemon. Or if you already have Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. That's the thing about all these cheaters that have gotten disqualified and all these people that are trying to defend cheating, is that they don't respect the rules, and they never cared about the games. And you only have to go back one generation now to get the legendary Pokemon for Sword and Shield, which 26 million people have played, more than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet at this time, and that means at worst, it's a $30 investment for the DLC if you were playing Pokemon Sword and Shield, didn't care about competitive last generation, and suddenly only care now? That's kind of weird, but alright, and even then, there's still gonna be millions of DLC downloads. Also, the Nintendo Switch is even better for accessibility because you just make a new save file, and you can get an Urshifu in under 2 hours, trade it away to someone, repeat the process, unlimited legendary Pokemon fairly quickly. So there's no accessibility issues. And 3 of the top 4 most selling games in the 3DS era are Pokemon games. We have XY, Omega Green Alpha Sapphire, Pokemon, Sun and Moon, and Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon still having over 9 million units for the legendary Pokemon acquisition, which is actually pretty easy. I also need to make it clear, because the Pokemon community is just that bad faith and stupid. If you're coming in late to any game or esport, you are going to have a natural disadvantage, and you will need to catch up. Congratulations, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is your first Pokemon game since Red and Blue, and you want to play competitive. That doesn't entitle you to a complete save file of every Pokemon game before you for free. You can't walk into a golf retailer and say you're entitled to a free set of clubs and all of the equipment because you're starting at the age of 30, and everyone else that's 30 already has their equipment from when they played in college. Also, further proving that Pokemon is more accessible than most other sports or esports, because a starter set of golf equipment is going to be more than any of these calculations people are doing to get into Pokemon. Even if we go with the lie that it costs $500 to get into competitive Pokemon, that's for everything. That is all the money you will have to spend to get into Pokemon Scarlet and Violet all by yourself, even though the rules don't demand that you do it all by yourself. That's almost the minimum of what you have to pay to play your first game of golf. Now, I know some idiot is going to say, oh, well, you can go down to Goodwill and get a set of golf clubs for $20, but you also need tee, bag, other equipment, so it's going to cost $100 thrift, and that equipment is going to be so crap that's going to be almost impossible to develop any skill on, even casually. So if you want a competitive chance to even begin golfing, you have to spend more money than Pokemon, and also more time and coaching and all that other stuff. And then, of course, the bring back National Dex hypocrisy, because removing the National Dex in Generation 8, worst thing ever. Expanding the Dex for Generation 9, worst thing ever. So no one complained about how this is a win for accessibility back in Pokemon Sword and Shield when they crunched down on the Dex, and then Game Freak responds to all the people that are crying, and then the hypocrisy is just, no, Dex bad, transfer bad, even though no one had a problem with it before. It's only when the cheaters are getting caught, because it turns out everyone's cheating. Whoa.
To be honest, I only sympathize with those who didn't know that they had hacked Pokemon. Okay, like, I understand that sentiment, because obviously everyone who had hacked Pokemon, they know it's against the rules. Like you're not going to surprise them by saying, oh, they know it's not allowed, but they're just upset that that's the state, because it offers no competitive advantage.
And another lie that I've debunked a million times on countless videos on this channel. Time is an advantage. Having more resources is an advantage. The player with 200 hours of experience with countless Pokemon that they can use to build a team has an objective advantage over the player with only 5 hours of battle experience and 10 usable Pokemon, and they can't adapt to the meta quickly enough because by the time they make a new Pokemon, an entirely new meta has been cheated. Pokemon is no different than any other form of competition. You need to put in the work if you want to be elite.
Right, I think that's the thing. It's like, you are just the person that spends 50 hours trying to get their team built is going to be worse than the person that just invested all of that time actually playing the game.
That's literally admitting it's an advantage. The player that's following the rules is worse than the player that's breaking the rules. Gaining an advantage by breaking the rules is the literal definition of cheating.
You're not getting any better at Pokemon by hatching eggs or
It just saves times, because I think the people...
It's always that. It doesn't give a competitive advantage, but it saves time. Time is an objective advantage. It's these entitled scumbags that are fucking ruining Pokemon, and then they get into influencer positions because millennials and zoomers don't want to work for any of their things, and all they do is cry and complain and be brats. So when you pander to the always online younger generation, you're going to get more favor, even if that means doing the opposite of the right thing. These people just can't come out and say cheating is wrong. It's always all this like deflection and not really addressing the problem and then like defeating it, and also my sympathies instead of just like the hard fact, cheating is wrong. The deeper I get in this video, the more I'm like, wow, Alpharad's just a shitty person.
People are really missing the big picture. It's because to qualify for Worlds, it's not like you had one team for the full season, you know?
Yeah,
you
right.
make a new team for every season, and it's so possible for you to make a team and then realize, oh, this Pokemon doesn't work, I need to add another one. And sometimes you come up with a whole new team altogether.
Admitting it's an advantage! Because the player that does all that legitimately and then has to make another team is behind another 50 hours to the person breaking the rules. And saying Pokemon Showdown exists is not a counter argument because the team still needs to be made in game. That time still needs to be spent, and there's still a very high possibility that by the time you practice in Showdown, make the team, test it, you're still going to realize some flaws inside the game, so you might have to make another 2 or 3 Pokemon or drastically change your team despite using Pokemon Showdown, and you're still out all that time against the cheater that now has a massive advantage over you, which is why it's only cheaters winning these events and why so many cheaters got disqualified at Worlds. I had the debate with last year's Worlds second place, where he said he believes 95% of players at Pokemon Worlds 2023 used Genned Pokemon. That is how bad it is, and that just really proves that it gives an advantage because you can't win without cheating. And that doesn't make cheating okay.
Like, it's just not really, like, if other people are like grinding on Showdown and stuff like that, you kind of have to use third-party software to even test your team and then to make your...
That's trying to like be a jab at the rules, like, people using Pokemon Showdown are using third-party software, which is against the rules. No, the rules are to modify or create items or Pokemon in a player's battle team is forbidden. Showdown isn't creating Pokemon through third party. That's what PK Hex is for. He's also being really dishonest because Pokemon Showdown is not mandatory for like practicing teams and stuff. You can still do it all in game. And in a world where no one cheated and everyone had to make their Pokemon in game at some point, Pokemon Showdown wouldn't have as much value. It's an imperfect simulator with a different meta that isn't reflective of what happens inside the game. The in-game ladder is going to be closer to VGC than the Pokemon Showdown ladder, which has different players and different goals, and also being able to swap out your teams instantly all the time.
Build it in Scarlet Violet. I think what everybody really needs is, let's not hack Pokemon. Let's just give us a battle client where we can just use rental teams. We can set the EV, IV.
The reason why Game Freak hasn't done that is because, unlike you motherfuckers that actually don't care anything about Pokemon, they still find Pokemon to be special. That every Pokemon is its own unique creature, and you should be training and becoming a Pokemon trainer even for competing in the highest levels of competition. The rules make it clear that the creators of Pokemon want you to engage with all aspects of the game and have natural gameplay even to compete at the highest levels. The cheating problem has been a major issue from the beginning, and what the recent Pokemon Worlds with all the disqualification shows and all the players just kind of like even coming out and admitting to cheating, which is something Alpharad doesn't address. We have players that have won regional championships instructing people how to cheat to get past the hack check and then admitting to using hacked Pokemon at Worlds. But no condemnation of them because they all defend cheating. It's impossible for these bad actors to say that cheating is wrong because then they don't have the easy way anymore. And going back to that, it's like kind of showing, well, with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet having the most accessibility we have seen for competitive Pokemon, and also just even modern Pokemon with all the quality of life changes to breeding, making Pokemon one of the most accessible games and forms of competition in all of esports. The barrier to entry for Pokemon is lower than most other games. And even like going into sports, especially sports, and other games like chess, Pokemon is one of the most accessible, but again, it's all lies and hypocrisy and bad faith because it turns out cheaters aren't honest. So we take like all this quality of life and 95% plus players are still cheating. So it was all cheating back in 2012 as well, especially when you see shiny legendary hack teams and stuff. Also, RNG was clearly against the rules because it does not follow natural gameplay. Also, you need third-party tools to use a reverse-engineered seed of the game, which clearly violates the rules. Like, it should be obvious. Cheating means no hacking whatsoever. No hacking at all. And the Pokemon Company also has stated through support that if you use like a hacked Ditto to breed Pokemon, all those offspring are deemed illegitimate and cheated. So it just kind of shows no hacking anywhere. There's no way of cheating your way around the rules. Also, the RNG argument doesn't hold up because it would take less time to get a competitive team now in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet than to RNG perfect, shiny, legendary Pokemon in Generation 5, and they couldn't even play legit now, so they're not spending more time back then. And again, we have chat logs from champions like Ray Rizzo saying that they gen their Pokemon and they didn't RNG. Also, with Wolf's Raichu, Blissey even admitted there were no RNG manips in Generation 6's lifetime. So it's kind of showing how bad faith even Blissey's video is, because RNG did not exist for Wolf. That can further be proven by the releases for the versions of the RNG tool, that the first public release was 0.7. So it's also not going to be as efficient or effective as the one that Blissey showed, especially with all the time. And that was June of 2017. So yeah, and if you go back to any post, there was no existence in 2016 of any Generation 6 RNG manip by the person posting it and then showing all the guides and then admitting to it. Also, Wolf's teammate Marcus, that used the same Raichu, doesn't have a consistent story, because when interviewed by Blissey, just says garbage like, but as far as I remember, I didn't RNG in Gen 6, instead of just saying it didn't exist, because he's just hacking the Pokemon. So yeah, there's no way around it. Cheating is wrong, and for some reason these losers just can't admit to it, and then they keep deflecting with like, well, if we had a battle simulator, we don't, and the rules are still being broken here. Why is it so hard to say cheating is wrong?
Battle client where we can just use rental teams. We can set the EV/IV.
Exactly.
That's what people want. Like us hacking in Pokemon is an answer to a solution, or like an answer to a problem that we don't even like in the first place.
Then don't compete. If you can't follow the rules, you have no right to competition, which is why these players got disqualified, and there should be absolutely no sympathy in any way for the money and time lost and all of that other stuff. Almost every single competitor at Worlds is a cheater, which means they cheated to get there, which is supported by all the data mines that Kurt has done and the history of competitive Pokemon, just kind of showing it's all cheaters and it's all people defending cheating. And again, all sports and esports demand hard work and sacrifice. Pokemon is no different. That doesn't make an excuse for cheating. That doesn't mean that Game Freak's doing anything wrong with the rules. If you have a problem with it, don't play. Stay out. Let the good guys play.
Oh, or zero IV bottle cap. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, they just need to make it to, like, if you're gonna go and make it that easy already, like if you just have these items, just give us a way to generate.
And also, as shown by the entire history of competitive Pokemon, the zero IV bottle cap would do literally nothing, because everyone is still cheating no matter how easy it gets. It's just moving the goalposts back until we get a battle simulator, and then they're going to say, and see, we were right to cheat all along because we ended up getting what we wanted.
Yeah, I think like you and I are in the position, because I don't think I don't think there's any Nuzlocker who is not going to say we prefer the faster. We want rare candies, you know?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I think just make like just make Showdown. Just make Showdown with models in game. And
I guarantee you there was nobody at Worlds that qualified by only playing exclusively on cart.
Yeah,
Well, that's because cheating gives a massive advantage that makes it impossible to compete, even if you play exclusively on cart, even if they had the potential and the skill to qualify for Worlds.
I think we just, like, people use Showdown. Even the top competitors who don't stream Showdown, they play it, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of Pokemon creators only want to make Pokemon in it, especially if they're affiliated with Pokemon, like casters. Like, even talking like Wolf Aaron stuff, like, everyone tests teams on Showdown.
Right.
And that's just
you
how it
have
goes.
to. There's just, like, there's so many Pokemon in the game. If you just want to test some, like, niche pick, you don't want to have to go out of your way to go get that Pokemon, grind the Terra Shards to give it the right Terra type.
Yeah, the Terra Shards are crazy.
Yeah,
I think
Terra Shards is ridiculous.
I don't understand the point of saying all that. Like, it still doesn't justify cheating in any way.
Shards is ridiculous.
Let's entertain the other side of the logic. Let's say we only want you to use Pokemon in-game. We, like, no ginning. I think that's understandable, because those are the rules, obviously. But I think having, like, you want zero IV on certain Pokemon and not having any way to achieve that in-game is bad.
Yes.
I don't...
Again, all the cheating just proves that goalpost will be moved until... Like, if you cannot get a Pokemon in-game as fast as it takes to hack, people will always hack, and it will be 99% of competitors.
I like Regulation C the most, because it was all Pokemon native to Scarlet Violet.
Right.
I think as soon as we start allowing, like, other Pokemon from other games, that's when I'm like, I don't even love that if we have such restricted tools for everything.
Wasn't a problem in Generation 7 and earlier, only when cheaters are getting caught, even though it's easier and more accessible to get the other game Pokemon now than it was in Generation 7 when no one complained, and then everyone complained about the Dex cut in Generation 8. Scumbags.
Because it's the same people who argue the logic of like, well, we don't want Smash Bros tournaments to have money because it shouldn't be a career. It's like, dude, if you're making a competitive Pokemon team, how the fuck do I have time with a 9-to-5 job?
You actually easily have time with a 9-to-5 job. Olympic athletes, pro chess players, other esports competitors, they don't have a problem. You just have to sacrifice everything for it because you're playing professionally. You are at the elite level. That is one of the gates that exist for all forms of competition. Pokemon's no different, and even with all that, it's still one of the most accessible. These are all brats that have never worked for anything in their life or even really cared about playing the Pokemon games, and it shows.
Exactly, yeah. Like, the way that they're setting it up, you either A, have to do all the stuff yourself, which is a huge time sink, and if you are going to even be able to afford to get to Japan, unless you are one of the elite that gets paid to go out there, you're probably not going to be able to go.
Bad actors learn what competition is for the first time. That's the only way that this can be described, because if you think about it for a sport is going to take thousands of hours to get professional, more time, more money. You're going to need coaching. You're going to need to spend crazy amounts on diet and nutrition. Even a dietitian is going to give you an advantage, also equipment, and that's just the way the world works. If you got more time and money than someone else for whatever reason, you're going to have an advantage. That's a legal advantage, and that doesn't allow other people to cheat. You can't go, I'm lower middle class, therefore I'm allowed to take steroids. Does not apply anywhere else. Pokemon is no different.
B, you have to pay someone else, which is also an investment, and that leads to you getting scammed. You know, somebody could just hack in and be like, yeah, dude, these are totally legit.
Which that happened, like, you know, like, I do feel bad for, because it's...
Why do you feel bad? If everyone cheats, like, it is no surprise that everyone is cheating in Pokemon. No one wants to be honest about it, except for Guillermo. I have to respect him on that. World second place says over 95% of players are cheating. You are collabing with a cheater who already got caught cheating long before you were collabing with him, and anyone that goes into the history of Pokemon, that's another thing about any sport or esport. You gotta go back a little bit, do your research, learn the history, get a better game understanding from the past. And then you go to the past like, wait a second, there's no way they got all these legitimate. And that's what I mean, like, all it is like this brainwashing and self-convincing to justify cheating being okay, and then the rules are the problem. The entitlement and cognitive dissonance to refuse to accept doing the right thing shatters these people's brains, and you can see it in real time.
It's also like, people say, use the core mechanics of the game to make your team. And it's like, what about trading? Not that one.
That's a lie, though. Like, people are kind of using the email from the Pokemon company saying, watch out for trading, except that's nothing new because it's always been in the rules that, you know, you will be disqualified regardless of whether the Pokemon or items belong to that player or were traded for. And it's not a fault of the game mechanics that everyone is cheating. The risk doesn't exist because of Game Freak or the rules. It exists because 99% of players are cheating scumbags. And if influencers like you weren't bad actors and helped put pressure on the Pokemon company, then cheating would be much more enforced and a lot of the cheating would be stomped out or not as favorable, and then that would at least make it more likely the Pokemon you are receiving in a trade is legitimate, and then there's actually like a Pokemon trading economy. Yes, there is the unfortunate, sad reality that cheating will exist in all forms of competition, in all games. People will piss clean even though they're still on steroids. There's going to be cheating in FPS and all kinds of other games, but that doesn't mean you just roll over and accept it. But again, Pokemon's the only thing that has like so much entitlement, so many losers, where it's just all about convincing yourself that cheating is the right thing.
Right. Please don't do trades because those could be hacked, which could lead to you being disqualified.
Bad faith.
Like, of course they couldn't then enforce like, oh, if it's not your original trainer ID, then it's fair game, because then everyone just trades Pokemon from hacked saves, right? Kind of from what I talked to like a lot of top players, like at Worlds, was there were a few people who do everything legitimately, and that shocks me. But kind of what I heard from...
Well, almost all of them are lying to you. And also we're going to learn that they aren't legitimate. This was crazy to me. Not even I knew this. Thanks, Alpharad, for confirming for me that there's more cheaters than I thought, and you're getting this from the cheaters themselves.
What I heard from most was that some would have their Switch where they have everything on, and then they have a separate modded Switch, and they don't like Jin Pokemon. They would trade legitimate Pokemon from their first Switch to the other one just to be extra safe, but they hacked all the material.
Now your Pokemon is illegal. The use of external devices such as a mobile app to modify or create items or Pokemon. Items comes before Pokemon in the rules. So if you hack in vitamins, Terra Shards, bottle caps, all hacking is just not allowed. It's impossible to get around that. Cheating is wrong. Any form of cheating is covered by these rules. It is the most simple, hard to fuck up rules. And yet the Pokemon community cannot cope. These are not legitimate players, and this also seems to be a trend with Pokemon that pass Kurt's hack check, but just because they pass doesn't mean they're not cheating. We see this with Wolf's Pokemon, confirmed cheater, has gotten past the hack check, same thing for Marcus, but also because they're trading to a different Switch and then having a hacker touch those Pokemon to then make them illegal and then come back, even though it's all being done in game, so it's harder to get caught as cheating. Still against the rules, so there's objectively nothing legitimate about it. Also, going back to the thing I talked about earlier, where like you can't even hack a Ditto and then breed. So yeah, no hacking involved anywhere at any time for a legitimate player. Not hard.
But then they had like Terra Shards on there, because like that's undetectable.
Right. There's no way they're gonna know that the Terra Shards were fake.
Yeah.
You didn't
Still cheating. Just call it cheating, but you can't because you're bad actors.
actually grind raids to get all those Terra Shards.
Yeah, so it felt like that was it, but that's still, again, like another $300 investment, right? Yeah, what if I
Oh, they spend $300, therefore accessibility problem, but they have to cheat to accomplish that. Instead, also, it could just be one person that has this on the Switch that has all their hack stuff anyways, so you just trade your legitimate Pokemon to them, and you know they're just not going to, like, modify or Pika Hex the Pokemon, then they trade it back, and it's okay. So, yeah, deflect, instead of being like, this is cheating, deflecting to it somehow being about accessibility or spending money, because now you have to spend too much money to cheat in Pokemon? Disgusting.
hack my Pokemon to be shiny? Good for you, man. Yeah, I always wonder, like, how deep that...
Modify Pokemon. Got it.
the hack checks go, but I guess it's like... what if I hack Legends Arceus to spawn Enamorus a million times, catch them all? Like, can they tell?
It's still cheating, even if you don't get caught. That was kind of like the summary from this, with Guillermo. The summary of this 2.5-hour debate is, if you don't get caught, you're not cheating. It's still against the rules to hack in Pokemon on another game and then, like, transfer them to where they can't be detected in a weird way, or, like, spawning it in. Except I'm pretty sure those Enamorus would be flagged because the catch is a very specific encounter, so you're just better off, like, hacking the Enamorus in Pokemon Legends with the attributes of the special encounter Enamorus instead of just, like, spawning it somewhere random and catching it and then it having an invalid location data. Oh, wait a second. Hello, Wolfie's Moltres. It all comes full circle. Wow. Except Wolf's Moltres is kind of the same, but also different because it has memory data for a mystical place, but it does show as caught in the Fields of Honor, which is why it didn't get hack check. But if this shows like a mystical place or just the wrong area, then it would get detected by the hack check. That just kind of shows how hacked Wolfie's Pokemon was. You can't just like catch something in an impossible place. That will get flagged.
I don't know. But I feel like you're playing around it at that point.
You're not.
I don't know exactly how it works, but I think there's
Yeah.
like specific Pokemon that you aren't even feasible like with your trainer ID, and so if you have a Pokemon like that, then that's how it gets detected as being
obnoxious.
Yeah, right.
Following the rules is like that. He's calling it obnoxious when it's like, oh, it's obnoxious. All the details you have to worry about when cheating. Yeah, that's why when I saw Alpharad working with Wolf, I knew what it meant. It means Alpharad is a bad dude. He doesn't care about cheating. He doesn't care about the lying to cover it up. He doesn't care about Wolf defaming me with more lies because I caught him cheating. And he also doesn't care that all of these players are stealing and prize money from people following the rules. This is what I mean when I say every Pokemon influencer is a bad person. If they aren't explicitly coming out and saying cheating is wrong and we need to do something about cheating and condemning the cheaters, they are bad people. It's not hard, and for some reason, we only see this in Pokemon. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.